research. So the slave that went with fucking Lewis and Clark's name was York. And not only was he fucking natives all the way across, everybody was. Because I guess like their view on sex was like way different. But the thing is because of like I think it was like French traders that went through that area beforehand. There was tons of venereal disease. Yeah. And so lots of mercury. Dude, fucking French Pete, dude.
Look, not all of us can be like French Pete and just put it in.
French Pete was a special guy. And one of the highlights of our last episode of History Boys,
which we just recorded the other day, in September,
of the year of our Lord. What was it? 2019.
That was 2019.
Yeah.
What year was it?
Yeah, it was. What year are we in? 2019, right?
2020, and you know it.
The good news is we're back, guys.
We're
the
back.
History Boys.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be
you know we're back
recording.
because you just listened to 2 more episodes, but...
Yeah, they know we're back already.
We're back.
But we're actually back.
Now we know we're back.
Now we know.
You already knew it. Now we know it.
Wait, guys. Are we back?
Oh,
Boys are back.
Oh.
Boys are back.
In town.
The History Boys are back in town.
We're just like herpes. You can't get rid of us.
Does that mean that that Tyler's back? Because Tyler's here. Who else do we got here? We got Chris.
I'm here. I'm Chris.
Jerry.
I'm here. I'm Jerry.
And Zach.
Hi, I'm here.
We're the gang's all here.
Let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business.
What happened last time? Let's just really quick recap for last week.
So last time we left you with Red Cloud pondering an all-out offensive on the American forts C.F. Smith and Fort Phil Kearny. His plan of attacking with a smaller decoy force and then retreating to a larger force to crush whoever was stupid enough to give pursuit was his overall strategy, and it was totally working. In the meantime, Colonel Carrington was drilling his men on the basics of military practice because of what had just happened, where they just decided to run all over the place.
Well, one of the first basics he taught him was to never go to a second location, because that really screwed him the first time.
I feel then they never learned, right? Like, they kept like, they're definitely not leading us back to an ambush again. Yeah. Ah, damn it, they are.
Yeah. Well, he was teaching them straight up how to get on and off the horse. Like, how to shoot the gun.
So basics.
So
he took it back down to basics, for sure.
So it is like Mulan. He's gonna make men out of them.
Yeah.
Remember that movie?
I never saw Mulan.
I've actually never seen it either.
So, of course, Lieutenant Bingham, he was the guy that was impaled on the tree with 50 arrows shot in him.
God, so cool.
They had to bury him in the cemetery outside Fort Phil Kearny. And the crazy part about that cemetery is everyone that was buried there, like, not a single one of them died of natural causes.
I think Bingham wouldn't... Well, he died probably because Colonel Googlem was so popular.
Who are you talking about?
Because he's Bingham. You know, Bing and Google? It's doing a big
God
Google
damn
joke.
it.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
I thought you were
John
talking about...
Googlem?
What was the other guy's name?
He's
The
got
one that
googly
like
eyes
was
and knows
drunk
a
all
lot
the
of-
time and had 2 wives. What was that guy's
Grummond?
Grummond. That's who I thought he was trying
Lieutenant
to talk
Grummond,
about.
yeah. For a second, I thought he was trying to talk
You're
about
like,
him.
Google him. His name's Grummond.
Yeah.
No, I know Grummond. Grummond was the guy that I thought had to climb to get into chairs, but turns out he ended up being super handsome.
And badass, getting drunk all the time.
He was the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Don't like him.
bad guy.
So after that fiasco during the woodcutter rescue, Carrington grew way more cautious about fighting Red Cloud at all. And, like, even his, like, officers were like, we should take the fight to him on the Tongue River. Thank God Carrington didn't let them do that. They would have ran into, like, 3,000 Indian braves and would have been obliterated.
That's too many braves.
Yeah. There's no way. There's just no way. So Red Cloud would continue to send minor raids on the woodcutters on Little Piney Island, but this time Carrington wasn't taking the bait like he used to, again, despite what his officers wanted him to do.
Do you think the raids would have been more successful if he sent adults?
What do you mean? Like, what
Instead
are
of
you
minors? Oh, minor raids.
Minor raids.
Okay,
Like couple here and there.
I thought he was like, that fort's full of Epstein. Send the minors.
So, yeah, Red Cloud kept trying to get the Americans to take the bait on Little Piney Island. And this time, Carrington sent Captain Powell. He told him, do not follow the Indians over Lodge Trail Ridge. Remember what happened last time. We know that there's more of them than just 40. Don't go following just a group of 40 or 25 or something like that. And luckily, Powell showed some restraint, and he didn't follow him on subsequent raids.
That's shocking.
It is kind of shocking that they're just... One guy was like, you know what? I'm not going to go into an ambush. You know? So this led Red Cloud to think, well, I don't know, maybe this tactic is starting to fail. Maybe these Americans weren't as stupid as I thought they were.
No, they are.
Yeah.
For sure.
So because of this, Red Cloud became a little unsure of his plan, so they needed a sign to continue.
I saw the sign.
So according to
that too.
the heart of everything that is, my main source for all this, they consulted one of their sacred, quote, half-men, what the whites might call a hermaphrodite.
So wait, you're sure it's not a very short person?
No, no. The way they describe they were like holy men. The way they describe them is looking like a man, but acting like a woman. Or, I don't know what the genitalia is here. It's none of my business. But that's what it is. That's what is going on.
I thought it was in reference to mannerisms. Like, rather than having stereotypical masculine mannerisms, it was more of a feminine mannerisms.
They would, in some cases, I'm sure, sometimes they would dress like women.
Right.
And they were kind of like a jester, almost. Like, they kind of lived outside of the societal norms.
Like Kids in the Hall.
Sure.
Dressing like ladies, making us all laugh with their antics.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't really have to adhere to certain rules that they had. They could kind of act the way they wanted to.
I like that. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that girl.
Anyway, the holy man got on top of his horse. He put a blanket over his head and rode around in the valley where the battle was going to take place. And he would come back and he'd jump off the horse and then roll around on the ground and then pick up his hands and say, I have 30 soldiers in my hands. And they were like, not good enough. Do it again. And so he rode around again, repeated the process several times until he held up both hands and said, I have 100 soldiers in my hands. And they were like, nice. And then they decided that they could start the attack now.
Not good enough. Do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't we just roll some dice or something? No. Put the blanket on your head, get on the horse, fucking ride around.
Say a
roll
bigger
around on the
number
ground.
this time.
Do it all again. Say a better number now.
He's like 1 million. Way too many. You went the other way with it.
So the morning of December 21st, 1866, it was a little warmer than it had been the last previous days, and the snow that had fallen on the ground melted that morning. And Carrington, because he was like, it's kind of snowy, it's kind of gross out, he waited until 10 o'clock to send out the woodcutters to Little Piney Island. And he actually sent a larger guard detail than normal with them, consisting of 90 soldiers. So it was a bigger force that he sent out, and he's like, yeah, that should be all right.
And well rested.
Yes.
Get to sleep until like 9, you know? I mean, I don't know what the total ride time is. I can't imagine it'd be more than an hour. But
Yeah.
then again, people got up earlier back then, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially these guys.
Yeah, they're not up all night on their phone looking
Yeah.
at message boards.
No. So not even an hour later, the signal was raised on Little Piney Island that they were under attack. Red Cloud had sent Yellow Eagle with 40 other braves to try this little plan again.
What was the signal?
The signal, so there's a little hill on top of Little Piney Island, and they called it Pilot Knob, and they would send up flags, you know, and the flags would be their signal, we're under attack, and, you know, they'd do it that way.
How far was the hill from the thing?
It was a few miles, man.
So then how did the flag guy know what was going on?
Because they were under attack, so they
The flag
would put
guy's
the
the guy
flag
getting
up.
attacked.
They'd put the flag up,
Okay.
and they could see it from Fort Phil Kearny.
Oh, okay. So the flag
Yeah.
guy's like in the shit. Okay.
Yes,
It's
yes.
it's all coming together.
Yeah.
I thought he was just like, I feel like we're getting attacked. Raise the flag.
No, the lookouts could see the flag, and they're like, they're being attacked. We got to send somebody down there. When the alarm was raised at Fort Phil Kearny, Carrington wanted to send Powell again because of his restraint. a couple of days earlier of not chasing them. But claiming seniority, Captain Fetterman asked to go instead.
What a dildo.
Considering that he had already assembled 50 of his infantrymen, Carrington didn't really have time to argue, and he was like, all right, you can go. But again, the order was given, do not pursue the Indians over Lodge Trail Ridge. Don't do it.
Don't do that.
So
I'm sure that they
please don't
followed
do that.
orders and didn't do it. I mean,
Well-
they've learned from their lessons.
Well-
I mean, they are Americans in a military conflict. We learn our lessons. Never repeat the past.
So yeah, he just wanted a quick rescue, and that's it. Bring the woodcutters back safely, that's all. He then sent Lieutenant George Grummond with a mounted cavalry division to go catch up with Fetterman and support his forces in case anything happened. The same order was given to Grummond, don't chase them over the ridge. Just don't do it. They're going to ambush you.
Do you think after he told Grumman that he kissed him lightly on the cheek and said, "Make good choices"?
Maybe if he would have done that,
That's what he should have done.
what happens next maybe would not have happened.
Oh,
Carrington
shit.
had, and I mean, spoiler alert, we know how history is going to turn out. Carrington never did get his log flume ride. But I mean, they were trying for it. It was going to be the first.
So to kind of give you an idea of how the geography of this place is, Fort Phil Kearny, if you imagine it kind of in the middle, if I'm looking straight, in front of me is a big hill. That's Lodge Trail Ridge. Over to my left is Little Piney Island and Pinot Creek. Like, that's where the water is there. Little Piney Island's over there. On the other side of Lodge Trail Ridge, there's a valley. On the other side of that is another hill called High Backbone, which is kind of confusing because one of the war chiefs that is fighting with Red Cloud is also named High Backbone. So that was confusing to me during the research. But, yeah.
He found out about his scoliosis on that hill.
So basically, if you get up over that hill, they know that the fort can't see you any longer, and they can come out of everywhere
That's when you can do whatever
at you.
want when no one can see you.
So Carrington was watching from the lookout at their movements, and a signal went up at Little Piney Island that the attack was over. And Carrington's like, all right, well, maybe they probably see those flags. You know, that's where they're looking, right? I see that they're still going, and they're going up the same path we took when we got ambushed that last time. But it's cool. Maybe they just want to oversee the retreat. You know, he kind of scoured the area, you know, with his like old timey looking glass, and saw like a couple of like Indians like hiding in the brush, and he's like, see? And he had like one of the cannons shoot at him, and they kind of scattered and ran away, and he's like,
Got him.
that's that. Yeah. And he figured, I gave them explicit orders, there's no way they're gonna go over that ridge. I'm gonna go back down to my room.
And Carrington's log flume ride was secure in his mind, and he went off to bed with his nightcap and his slippers. Just to be safe. I'm really hanging my hat on that joke.
It's great. It's a good one.
So Fetterman and Grummond met up on top of Lodge Trail Ridge, because again, Fetterman has infantry guys, so they're just walking. And Grummond was able to catch up because they're on horses. They're a cavalry division.
They're up there daring each other to go over the ridge. That's what's happening.
Yeah, both
They're like,
Talking
I bet
shit.
you're not going to go over that ridge. Bet you're not going to go over that ridge.
and both of them thinking in their own head, I'm the main character in this, so I can't die.
Yeah. On the opposite side of the valley in front of them, on High Backbone, were a group of Lakota. Among them was Crazy Horse.
Hell yeah.
And they would ride into rifle range and then out of rifle range. So they'd like take pot shots at them, and they're like, haha, and they'll like circle around, like daring them to like chase after them. And they kept like yelling curse words because that's all they knew in English were curse words.
First thing you learn.
Yeah.
Bulligers.
Yeah.
That's what I call my cat. Because he licks his butt.
Also, how do you find out what rifle range is if you don't, I mean, like, you know what I
They've
mean?
probably been shot at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, kind of that, and like they shoot rifles too.
Well, yeah, I
you
mean-
kind of know how far away its effectiveness is.
Right.
But the first guy to figure out the range, well, He comes up with crazy ceremonies like covering your head with a rug and riding around on a horse. And also doesn't understand the difference between frowning and smiling anymore.
So Crazy Horse was trying everything, all of his tricks in his book. He tried getting off his horse and checking its hoof again, you know, being like, doo-doo-doo, well, guess I can't ride my horse. They weren't buying it. He even sat down next to his horse and made a little fire.
Oh.
Still, they wouldn't do anything. So finally, Crazy Horse turned around, pulled up his breechcloth, and then pulled down his leggings and showed him his bare ass.
Yeah.
It's the universal language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's why William Wallace did it.
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of people think that
And he was an anti-Semite.
a lot of people think that there's no way that a soldier like Fetterman would lose it at that point at some infantile gesture.
You'd be wrong.
A lot of people do agree that Drummond, on the other hand, was very pissed off about that.
Well, he was hammered and
Yeah.
he took it as disrespect.
He was hammered and out of mustache wax.
He's like, this motherfucker, show me his ass.
At like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, was he hammered, horny, or both?
Oh, dude.
A little,
You know
little
Drummond.
column A, a
Oh.
little column B.
One of them, it was probably Drummond. Drummond decided to give chase. And then they had to follow him. And the lookouts at Fort Phil Kearny, like, kind of blinked. And all of a sudden, they weren't there anymore.
Like, no.
Yeah, they're like,
Fuck,
they went over
yeah.
that. They went over that ridge. Oh god, oh god, oh god.
It's like the one thing I said not to do.
Yeah. So Drummond split off. He followed a group of them down to Pino Creek, where it looked like there was like a little village or something set up. It was not a little
It was
village.
a village drawn on cardboard cutouts. Worked like a charm.
Hidden in the foliage, turns out, were hundreds of Cheyenne, Arapaho, Mini-Conjou, and Oglala.
And the ferns were real.
Right, yeah.
Those weren't cardboard cutouts.
Fetterman, he continued over to the south side of High Backbone. The decoys, seeing that their plan had worked, they formed their horses into an X, and that was the signal for Red Cloud's forces to attack. Drummond had only a fleeting moment to realize his mistake before the sky grew dark with arrows.
Oh no, they're doing the X thing. Let's get out of here. It's too late.
He was one of the first people to fall. Fetterman, seeing the land just boil with Indians, somehow managed to rally his troops up further on High Backbone to like a rock formation that they could kind of get their backs behind.
That's what we call a whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, they came out of everywhere. There were thousands of them. Meanwhile, the lookouts at Fort Phil Kearny, they reported to Carrington that both Fetterman and Drummond had disappeared over the ridge, and now there was shooting.
God damn it.
Sir, they're disobeying orders and going directly into a kill box, sir.
Yeah. Carrington was pissed, understandably, that they had disobeyed yet another order, and he sent Captain Tenike.
That drunk Drummond piece of shit.
He sent Captain Tenike on the
That's
double.
how you say that. I was reading in
Yeah,
the notes.
Tenike.
I was like, well, first of all, if that's 10 Ike, I'd hate to see 1 Ike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He sent Tenike on the double to link up with Fetterman and Drummond to bring him back to the fort. You know, like, just rescue him and get the hell out of there. You know, whatever's going on.
The best thing about a 10 Ike is there's 10 of them.
More like 9 Ike.
So yeah, he had to send Captain Tenike on the double to meet up with Fetterman and Drummond. And he's like, just bring them back. Bring them back to the fort. That's it. Don't try to make some sort of heroic last stand with this. Just bring them back.
That's why they call it a last stand.
Yeah, exactly. So they had to like pile into wagons because they were kind of out of horses. They were kind of out of men, and they were kind of out of guns. Like this
Well, they
was
kept
kind
stealing
of
their horses.
Yeah, they didn't have very many anymore. And
They
they're
gotta save a stand for next time.
yeah. Meanwhile, Fetterman at the rock pile was backed into a defensive position, and really they couldn't miss. There were so many Indians coming up the hill. They were just shooting, and after a while, they were just getting so close that they just couldn't reload.
They were overwhelmed.
Absolutely overwhelmed.
Also, the 19th century equivalent to Tony Montana. Say hello to our little friends.
Yeah.
Pop. A minute later. Pop.
Pop. Yeah.
They're doing a gesture that looks like putting gunpowder into a musket.
Yeah.
You can't see that at home.
I'm pretty sure they all had Winchester repeaters, probably.
No.
Were they single-shot weapons?
They were single-shot weapons, except for the weapons that the brass band had, which now they can use. So
or they're like, can we stop playing so that we can shoot? No, keep playing. It's imperative that you continue playing.
The idea of a brass band with guns is so fucking cool, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they have the best guns and they're like, we're going to play some stuff from our first album. Murder. Back when it was about the music. For the money and the women. Anyway, yeah.
So the last of Grumman's men, they tore away in terror, ignoring Fetterman's position, and they made a run for it back to Lodge Trail Ridge. They were getting the hell out of there.
Like heroes.
Yeah. They dismounted the horses and they formed a circle and started shooting. And in a matter of moments, that circle kind of turned into a circle of dead braves around them. Captain Brown, who was with them in the mix, was somehow able to break away from that circle to meet up with Fetterman. He stood back to back with Fetterman as they were shooting with their Colt revolvers.
Cool.
It's kind of cool.
I mean, they're totally in the wrong.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool. They were like boom, 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 boom. And then the Great War Chief American Horse charged his horse up to the rock pile and took this terrifying war club made of bur oak and studded with nails, and he slammed it directly into Captain William J. Fetterman's head.
Oh.
Totally bashing it open.
Talk about a splitting headache.
Nice.
Jesus.
Hey, Brown, want to see some red?
Yeah. And then American Horse jumped down off of his horse and pulled his knife out and slit Fetterman's throat. Just to make
removing his head.
Almost removing his head. It turned him into a Pez dispenser.
The old O.J. Simpson maneuver.
Yeah.
If he did it.
Allegedly. Also, was American Horse's name American Horse's horse?
Well, it had to have been,
They
right?
didn't have a name.
It's just a little horse.
Right?
American Horses.
For riding through
horse.
the desert.
Or the horse with no name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the band America.
Whoa!
Just blew Tyler's mind. Some of the other men were able to make a break for it and try to make it to Grumman's men. Brown was still at the rock pile, and all around him he could just see unimaginable butchery. Eyes being gouged out, tongues being ripped out, bodies being mutilated, men screaming, people being scalped alive, and he's looking all around it. He
goes, check, please.
Well, yeah. The last of the men, they were fighting with their shattered rifles and knives.
And shattered will.
Yeah, it was no use. He looked down at his revolver and noticed that he had one bullet left, and he put it to his head and shot himself.
The hero's way out.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Heroes on both sides.
One of them, I think it was Brown. He was bald, but he was scalped anyway. One of the guys was bald, but they scalped him anyway.
He's like, this is going to be a challenge, but I'm going to make it work.
Yeah.
So, hey, you know it'd be funny? Scalp.
Yeah, take the bald guy's scalp, move it over to that guy with hair. Then take the guy with hair's scalp, put it on the bald guy, and we'll make a game out of it.
It's funny. The last of Grumman's men, they were trying like mad to get to the top of Lodge Trail Ridge. But they noticed that Yellow Eagle's initial decoy force had regrouped with more Braves, and they were starting up the hill at them.
Things are escalating.
Yeah, and there was sort of a lull in the attack. That was just so they could gather the horses that the cavalry had been... they let them go, you know. So they were just gathering up the horses.
So they're like, another horse for us, another horse for us.
Yep, yeah.
And all those horses were like, thank God, you guys are going to be so much cooler to hang out with.
Yeah. So any one of Fetterman's infantrymen that happened to miraculously make it out of that rock pile, they were running towards Grumman's men, and they're like, okay, we have, like, more help. And they just blew right by him. like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. The last of the men dug into a cluster of boulders because their escape was being now blocked by Yellow Eagle. And they're like, oh god, there's no way out of this.
Are they just hiding under some boulders?
Yeah, they were waiting for some sort of reinforcement, and it wasn't happening fast enough.
And so one of them was like, I want to let you know, I've always been in love with you. And then the other guy was like, the feelings are not mutual. And he's like, I take that back. I really hope we get rescued.
Yeah. So Red Cloud scouts were signaling Red Cloud with mirrors, who was watching the whole thing on a nearby hill, that there were reinforcements on the way.
See, that's how you signal. None of this flag bullshit.
No, he's got a mirror.
Sitting on a hill, feeling things out. Use a mirror.
Yeah, and Red Cloud, he thought, shit, they probably brought what he called the guns that shoot twice. And basically they're mortars. And he's like, I don't want to fuck with the artillery. Let's wrap this up. And he signaled another attack to finish him off.
Oh, jeez.
Damn.
Yeah. So they made a final push up Lodge Trail Ridge, swinging their clubs, screaming, and swinging their tomahawks and shit.
Swinging their terrifying clubs.
Yeah.
I want to see a club that's not terrifying.
Yeah. Soon they were totally on top of them. People, again, getting scalped alive, skulls being cleaved open, limbs being dismembered. The German bugler, remember him? Adolf Metzger?
Yeah, Adolf
Good old
Metzger.
Adolf.
Yeah. He was there, and he was the last man alive.
And he's like, guys, I know you want to kill me.
Yeah.
But he played this sick jazz bugle.
hell
Just
yes.
a real panty dropper. And they left him alone.
You're
He
like,
was-
that's not bad.
He was totally out of bullets. He was down to his last weapon, his bugle. So Metzger swung it at the Braves. He's like smashing them with it. Like, he used it as a weapon. He took a couple of them out with the bugle.
See, if he would have tried to soothe them with the power of jazz bugle, I think he would have had to invent some shit.
Yeah, like
make
he had to
that
be like
happen.
Chuck Mangione about it.
I just really
Take him
hope
into the
that he.
Mangione zone.
I really hope that he fucking used the bugle like as if it was a Mega Man Buster arm cannon. Like, he put his fist in the
put
horn.
the
We're just like smashing people.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it like transforms around his arm and shoots out sound waves.
I mean, that would be cool too. Don't
That's
get me wrong,
bonkers.
but
That's what's gonna happen in the movie.
yeah.
It's like, there's a lot about me you don't know.
But the bugle, I mean, when they found it, it was covered in blood and it was beat to hell, like covered in dents and stuff. And it is in a museum now. Like, you can go and see Adolf Metzger's busted up
really?
bugle. Yeah,
Still
super
covered
cool.
in blood.
yeah.
let's
Because
make a
everyone
field
knows
trip out
that
of that.
historians are badass.
Right?
They're like, don't wash it off.
By the time Captain Ten Eyck arrived with reinforcements, he kind of took a long way to get there. He saw a sight that not many whites would see and also survive. He observed them cleaning up their dead and like taking with them like all of their trophies, scalping, who was left, things like that. And so when they got up there, they were seeing people like, scalping them.
Just
and-
matter of factly.
just cleaning
Is this
stuff
the part
up.
with the scalped horse?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So yeah, when they saw Captain Ten Eyck, they just kind of like waved their weapons and like screamed. They're like, ha ha. They're like, come and get me if you want, and they like didn't move.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah, we even got the brave has trouble adjusting to group activities. He's the horse scalper.
Yeah. Yeah, like there was one guy that the Americans said, wow, they hated him so much they even scalped his horse.
But the thing is Ten Eyck had to take the scenic route. I mean, you never know when you're gonna find like, a cute little shop. You want to go antiquing, Like, he was probably like, oh, this is cute,
Yeah.
Then he took that turn.
Yeah. The Indians withdrew. There's no way that they were going to chase them. And they were looking around at, like, a level of butchery that they had just not ever experienced. There were body parts everywhere. There was blood everywhere. There was no way to really identify these corpses. Like, they were identifying them by, like, scraps of clothing. Like, oh, that guy. All right, well, he's not here anymore.
Jesus.
I know those scraps.
Yeah. All except for Adolf Metzger. His body was actually treated with the utmost of respect because of that display that he did with the bugle. His body was found totally intact, unscalped, and with a buffalo robe over the top of it.
Aw. Well,
fucking
like just-
badass.
I
That's
know,
awesome.
right? Like they had mad respect for that dude.
Like, he can play a mean bugle and he knows how to kick ass.
Yeah,
They were like, did you check out that guy swinging the bugle?
that was badass.
That was cool.
I killed him, but that's badass.
I killed the shit out of him.
All told, 80 Americans were killed, and it was later named by the New York Times as the Fetterman Massacre. Although Red Cloud's forces would call it the Battle of 100 in the Hand, because of the
Because of the half man.
yeah, exactly.
Not Tyrion Lannister.
Well, and also we talked about this in previous episodes about how when Indians were in like a battle with Americans, it was called a massacre.
Yeah.
But when Americans massacred Indians, it was called a battle.
Yeah.
It was called the police action.
Like the Battle of Sandy Creek.
Yeah, they called it the Battle of Sand Creek. And it's like, no, it was the Massacre of Sand Creek. When Carrington...
Like the battle at Sandy Hook.
Yikes.
Damn, dude.
When Carrington found out about what had happened, he sent out a detail to collect and bury whoever they could find, which, yeah, that was a difficult task. And, like, they had to bring them back to the fort, like, lay everybody out and be like, okay, so this piece goes with this piece.
It's like a fucked up jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
They're like, okay. Start with corner pieces.
He... And, like, while the detail was out, like, they were terrified that they were going to follow up the attack on the fort. You know, because they knew how many soldiers they had. They knew what their resources were
Well, it's
like.
really easy to count 0.
Yeah, now. So, like, Carrington even gave the order to all the women and children and, like, people that couldn't fight that, all right, you're going to hide in the storeroom while we're gone. If you're attacked while we're gone, kill yourself. So, yeah, could you imagine, like, telling your family that?
Oh, I would dress as a little boy and be like, I'm just a child. Don't let the sins of my father roll down onto me. Let me join your tribe and teach me your ways. And be like, you're 36 years old and dressed like a sailor with a giant lolly.
And that is an American military uniform you have underneath. Yeah, he had almost no soldiers, no horses, and extremely low on supplies. And now they were just sitting there and waiting and terrified that they were going to follow it up. Red Cloud didn't. They went and partied, and his soldiers were suffering too. Like, his army was suffering too. Usually they didn't make war in the winter, and so he finally told them, like, all right, go ahead and go to your winter headquarters in the Black Hills. You've had enough.
You've earned it.
Yeah, you've earned it. I didn't burn down the forts yet, but we're gonna do it. I promise, guys. Carrington didn't know that though, so they desperately needed reinforcements and supplies. So they had to send a messenger down to Fort Laramie, which was almost 250 miles away. That like, hey, we were just massacred. We need soldiers and supplies like pronto, like yesterday. A man named John Portuguese Phillips volunteered. Any guess as to why his name is John Portuguese Phillips?
He's Portuguese.
Did he invent the
Exactly.
Portuguese sausage?
I'd like to think he went to Portugal once, and when he came back, he wouldn't stop talking.
He was Portuguese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like some of these names, it's like, you're from where? All right, French Tyler. You know? All right.
French Pete.
Yeah, French Pete.
Yeah. So John Portuguese Phillips volunteered because when the attack had happened, he was out getting water, and he felt horrible that he wasn't there with everybody. So he wanted to like be in the
a
mix.
battle's going on. I'm missing it.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a battle? I was getting water for us. I was getting water for everyone, and it's such a bummer that I missed it. Oh, you want me to ride 250 miles in the middle of winter? Fuck. Yeah, I guess I'll do it because I feel so bad.
He even like went up to Frances Grummond, Lieutenant Grummond's widow now, and was like, "I'm so sorry about your husband," and like gave her a blanket or a jacket or something like that. And he's like, "Here you go, in case I don't get back." And she didn't know this guy very well, and she was like, "Thank you."
And he's like, If you need a shoulder to cry on when I get back,
I'll be here.
Are we sure that he was actually getting water and he wasn't actually balls deep in Grumman's wife?
No, he was actually getting water, and he did feel real bad about not being there because he would have been with them.
I would have felt better about not being there.
Yeah, so would I.
I feel great that I wasn't there.
Once again, we have established that my family crest is a guy hiding behind. Was it hiding under a rock?
Hiding behind a rock. I like behind a rock because that's not a very good place.
Hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
Better than a cardboard village.
Yeah. So it was December 21st. It was 18 degrees below zero, and it started to snow. And that's when John Portuguese Phillips took one of Carrington's personal horses and set out for Fort Laramie. It was 236, but it's about 250 miles. And the thing is he had to go to Horseshoe Station first because it was a little closer. But there's no guarantee that the telegraph lines were up, that they had either been cut or the storm had knocked them over.
And despite the fact that it was Carrington's favorite horse, the heater was broken.
Yeah.
But it hauled ass.
Yeah. So he took two other people with him, and they rode down to Horseshoe Station, which was harrowing in of itself. And they all showed up, and they're all, like, freezing. They'd had enough. You know, the snow is deep. Like,
Missing toes.
Yeah, it's deep as hell. They get there, they're, like, resting, and, like, the dude's like, holy shit, you guys rode all the way down here? He's like, well, we'll send the message, but no guarantees. Yeah, no promises, guys.
It's like, you guys look like shit. I
Yeah.
can't make any promises.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so, like, John Portuguese Phillips, like, instantly started putting his boots and gloves and stuff back on. He's like,
"Fuck
I
that."
gotta go to Fort Laramie, and the other two guys are like, fuck that. There's no way I'm going. Not in this weather. Absolutely not.
They had regular horses.
Yeah. It was a full-on blizzard, you guys. It was fucked.
Not the cool kind with cocaine.
Or a DQ blizzard.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. I like mine with Oreo cookies inside.
I like mine with cocaine.
I like Reese's peanut butter cups in mine, so.
And cocaine.
John Portuguese Phillips struggled with this horse through these impassable snow drifts the rest of the way. He was snowblind. It was just all totally white. He had to feel his way through. And it was just awful. So keep in mind, he started out on this harrowing journey on the 21st. It was now Christmas Day.
Oh.
He had been out in the snow for that long. He had barely stayed at Horseshoe Station.
Little did he know his Christmas present would be his life.
Right? So at the edge of consciousness, he was on his horse and all bundled up. His horse had seen the, like, Christmas lights. They had, like, dressed up Fort Laramie in Christmas lights.
Aww.
His horse had seen the lights in the snow and just walked towards it. And so, like, he got up to the gates of Fort Laramie, and the lookout is like, what the fuck?
Santa?
Yeah. And he, like, jumped down and ran out, and, like, he, like, fell off the horse, like, directly into this guy's, like, arms. And, like, he's like dragging him inside, you know, and he's like, what are you doing? We gotta help you. And he goes, take me to your commanding officer. Like, he could, like, barely get it out. And he's like, what? Okay. And, like, he was adamant about it. So they take him inside, and inside, they're totally in the throes of this Christmas dance. Like, they're celebrating Christmas Day, and, like, they're just about ready to, like, pick out partners and stuff when this, like, half-dead frozen guy comes in, and he's like, I need to speak with you. Like, comes out, and they're like, yeah, we got a message earlier that, something about a massacre, but the message was garbled because of the lines and the weather and everything, so we didn't know what was going on. And he's like, oh my god, one of the worst massacres that would ever happen on the high plains just happened.
And everybody felt awful because they didn't get anything for him because they didn't know he was coming. So they're like, quick, relabel that one for little Sammy. We don't like him that much.
So they were like, well, take this guy to the infirmary. And as they're taking him to the infirmary, they look over, and the horse he was on was dead.
Aw.
like right in the parade ground.
Lost but not forgotten.
You see, that horse is the real hero, I feel like.
Yeah,
that
well,
horse.
R.I.P. Rest in pussy horse.
Jesus.
just like French Pete.
But he's lucky that the horse lasted that long. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So it was a pretty desperate scene at Fort Phil Kearny, giving orders to kill yourself if they get too close.
Yeah, that's dark.
It's a pretty hopeless situation.
They're just hoping for the best. I
Yeah.
mean, in a hopeless situation.
Yeah. So finally, from Fort Reno, they sent 25 reinforcements because it's all they had.
Most of them were working girls because it is legal in Reno. Prostitution's
Not in
legal
the
there.
same place. Fort Reno's a different place.
Oh, okay.
Fort Reno's another place that Red Cloud wanted gone to.
Because
I want all these fucking forts gone.
Yeah. So yeah, they pushed through the snow to get there, and yeah, they still wouldn't stand a chance against the full brunt of Red Cloud's forces, but at least it was something. And they got there, and the populace was terrified. Like they were waiting for arrows to fall any moment, and so like, could you imagine that? Like showing up, like the people you're supposed to be rescuing, like they're all horrified, and like everyone's dead, and like it's a bunch of women and children and stuff. I wouldn't know what to do.
open the door. Who is it? Reinforcements. I don't believe you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So when General Grant and General Cook in Omaha, when they got their messages about this attack, they were shocked because again they had totally underestimated Red Cloud and really any of the Indians that they were fighting. They're like, how could this be? And it was kind of the first time they realized, like, oh shit, we lost. Like, we lost that one, guys.
Mm-hmm. Like, wait, the arrow guys?
Red Cloud's war wasn't over until about another year afterwards, though. He kept attacking all the time at the forts, especially Fort Phil Kearny, but they just never really came back from the Fetterman fight.
Yeah. And plus they kept on talking shit.
And, you know, granted, Red Cloud's objective wasn't over yet. He hadn't burned those 3 forts to the ground
those
yet.
mothers down.
Yeah, so
Fucking metal.
he wasn't going to stop until he did. So he kept attacking. And it was January, like a month after the Fetterman attack, that Carrington was relieved of his command. And so he got a new post at Fort McPherson in Nebraska. And he's like, all right, well, see ya. And he left with his wife, Margaret Carrington, and the widow, Frances Grummond, and her dead husband, you know.
And she would later learn.
Yeah, well, we'll get there.
He was dead at all.
This is super weird.
His second family.
Yeah. This is super weird, but on the way to Fort McPherson, Carrington's revolver misfired, and it shot him in the thigh.
Fuck. He's like, could this day get any worse?
He shouldn't have bought that gun from that gunsmith who looked like Red Cloud with a fake mustache.
He's wearing like the Groucho Marx glasses.
The second Groucho Marx glasses.
No, my name is Blue Cloud.
Which is weird because I'm from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I eat
my
that
God.
weird chili that's on spaghetti. Is that a thing they do there?
I can't help but think in this film that I imagine that Carrington now is played by who the fuck's the guy? Annie Hall, the
Woody
Allen.
Oh,
Allen.
yeah.
He's like,
or Larry David, you know, just like shooting himself in the hip and just like
So the new commander at Fort Phil Kearny, and a couple of guys did stay on at Fort Phil Kearny, like amazingly. John Portuguese Phillips, Captain Ten Eyck, they stayed there through all the rest of Red Cloud's attacks.
Because they had priors on the East Coast. I don't know why else you'd stay.
But the commanding officer, he sent wires to General Grant and General Cook, like, hey, if we're ever gonna defeat these guys, I need like 20,000 dudes, which is like most of the army at that time. Like, there's no way we can give you 20,000
Give us the motherfucking army.
I don't know much about population growth and history and stuff. But I feel like that's like everybody. That's like everybody in the country at that point in time, you know?
Well, just after the Civil War, they cut the numbers of the army down, like way down. So like the army wasn't that big at the time. And it's usually full of just brigands and
thieves, roustabouts.
roustabouts.
Guys who want a free ride to the gold rush, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of what finally forced the United States to admit that they had been defeated. And they were coming to the negotiating table, this time on their terms, on the Indians' terms. So Red Cloud, of course, sent emissaries to Fort Laramie because there's no way he's going down there personally to talk about it. He's like...
Oh, they'd smoke his ass.
Right.
Well, he was just... I'm not... He even said, like...
His ass.
He even said, like, there's... No, I already said I'm done talking with you. You know, I'm not going to do that, you know? So their peace terms that they drew out were everything that Red Cloud wanted. Getting rid of the 3 forts, C.F. Smith, Phil Kearny, and Reno. Getting rid of those and closing the Bozeman Trail. And those were the terms laid out, and they're like, okay, well, that's what we wanted, so we'll sign it.
And if the story ended there, it would be super cool.
It would be great because Red Cloud totally won. And of course, they instantly tried to subvert their own treaty because that's what the United States does to Indians. Red Cloud was really insulted by that, and at one point he even took an army of like 1,000 braves and just stood in front of Fort Laramie just to be like, I will burn this place down too. And like, then he just turned around and left. It was just a show of force.
Yeah.
He wasn't gonna take any sort, he wasn't gonna start celebrating at all until those forts were gone, until the trail was closed. And so, of course, like, they start packing their stuff up, and they're watching, they're packing all the stuff up, and they leave.
He's
and
like,
they...
Crazy Horse, put your ass away.
Yeah. And yeah, once they were gone, they went down there and they burned those forts to the ground.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And that's how the first Burning Man started.
The victory was bittersweet, surprise, surprise, because a few months later, the Transcontinental Railway was finished, rendering the Bozeman Trail completely obsolete, as more whites began to pour into the interior of the United States. So
That must make it so much easier to get over there.
yeah, it made it so much easier.
It wouldn't be until the advent of jogging in the 1970s when white people started using the Bozeman Trail again. They got to get in their steps. Well, I mean, and that would come even later. So.
Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, they tried to get the band back together after that, and get Red Cloud in the mix and be like, we're still fighting.
But it just wasn't the same, man. You
Well,
know?
Red Cloud, he was like, look, I got what I wanted. I got what I wanted. I'm done. I'm done doing this.
Well, and, you know, after a while, you know, the sound's just not the same, and, you know, the groupies aren't worth it. You got a family at home.
Yeah. Well, and he was in his 50s. He was getting old. And he even traveled back east to see Washington, D.C., and New York City, and of course they showed him all these, naval shipyards with their big guns, and he saw the insane amount of people, and he's like, this is useless. There's just no way.
He's like, I thought I got all of them.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way. So he went back. He was absolutely done. He thought of it as like those people coming over here, the whites coming over here, was it's just as inevitable as the disappearance of the buffalo. Yeah. And of course there was like a mini depression that happened, and the United States government really needed that gold, and they reopened everything anyway, and
Like, sorry,
everyone
guys,
started
not sorry.
ignoring it. Yeah, and went into the Black Hills, started mining it. And there's another battle that happens because of this. A little battle called Little Bighorn, but that is a story for a different time.
My little bighorn.
I get you.
Nice.
It used to be that time I got my foot stuck in a toilet.
It's really, yeah. I remember you saying at that time, "This is my little bighorn."
So in 1872, Red Cloud and his wife, Pretty Owl, they moved to a reservation in Nebraska that was actually named after him, the Red Cloud Agency. It was near where he had been born. And it was here that he said, like, never again am I going to make war against the whites. And he later was quoted as saying that the whites had promised him a lot of things, And the only promise that they had kept is they told him that they were going to steal his land, and they did.
Which damn.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And he was smart enough to know that like nobody wants to see like a reboot or like a remake or like, you know, a soft reboot where maybe he shows up and like passes the torch to a younger generation.
Yeah.
Like because maybe it might work like once or twice, but people are gonna get sick of that shit like really fast. And he was smart enough to know, like, you know.
The hits had already been made.
Yeah. the original, you know, Fetterman massacre or the Battle of
Fetterman fight is what I like to call it, I guess, the Fetterman fight.
or the hand with 100 blue guys in there.
The Battle of 100 in the Hand.
Yeah.
Battle of the Blue Man Group.
Sadly, though, the Red Cloud Agency was relocated to South Dakota, as they do, and renamed the Pine Ridge Reservation. Red Cloud, he kind of changed while he was living there. He no longer really considered reservation life as a life not worth living. He started wearing, you know, the clothes of the whites, eating the white man's food, and
Give me some dungarees and a cheeseburger. Packing it up. It's over.
he used to be sort of a man of a certain place and time, but he'd sort of become another man in another place and time. He kind of realized he'd been overtaken by historical forces, you know, like it was useless now. Red Cloud would make more trips to the east to plead for better conditions inside the reservations. But unlike his military career, his political career always kind of seemed destined to fail. Like, they just didn't listen, you know?
Is getting overtaken by historical forces what families that were slave-owning families back in the day called what their ancestors did to their slaves? They were overtaken by historical forces.
I don't know about that.
It's a tough room. I'm looking at my watch and it's almost 9, so put your kids to bed. It's getting blue.
To this day, though, there are rumors that because Red Cloud grew to accept this life and sent his children to white schools and all this stuff, that he had some sort of hidden agenda, and that maybe even had the hand in Crazy Horse's assassination, which he didn't. He certainly didn't. But to this day, these rumors persist. It shows just kind of how deep it goes.
I'm surprised that QAnon existed back then.
Yeah, right. Red Cloud remained a distant but respected leader on the Pine Ridge Reservation. His oldest son, Jack Red Cloud, became the new headman of the Oglalas. And Jack Red Cloud's son, James Red Cloud, succeeded him. And his son, Oliver Red Cloud, who actually died on January 4th, 2013, succeeded him as headman. So Red Cloud's kids, you know, they took up the mantle, you know, after his death. So
Who's Red Cloud now?
I don't know if there is another
Is there
Red
Terry,
Cloud right
Terry
now.
Red Cloud floating around?
Chaz Red Cloud?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Chaz.
On July 4th, 1903, Red Cloud gave his last address to an assembled crowd. And if you'll indulge me, I do want to read what he said. I just think it's pretty awesome. My sun is set, my day is done. Darkness is stealing over me. He was going blind. Before I lie down to rise no more, I will speak to my people. Hear me, my friends, for it is not the time for me to tell you a lie. The Great Spirit made us, the Indians, and gave us this land that we live in. He gave us the buffalo, the antelope, and the deer for food and clothing. We fought our enemies and feasted our friends. Our braves drove away all those who would take our game. Our children were many, and our herds were large. Old men talked with spirits and made good medicine. Our young men herded the horses and made love to the girls.
Nice.
Where the teepee was, there we stayed, and no house imprisoned us. No one said, "To this line is my land, to that is yours." In this way our fathers lived and were happy. Then they sang the Indian songs and would be as the Lakotas were and not as the white men are. Shadows are long and dark before me. I shall soon lie down to rise no more. While my spirit is within my body, The smoke of my breath shall be towards the sun, for he knows all things, and knows that I am still true to him. The great mystery is familiar with my spirit, and when I die I will go with him. Then I will be with my forefathers. If this is not in the heaven of the white man, I shall be satisfied.
Damn.
The sun is my father. The God of the white man has overcome him. But I shall remain true to him. And Red Cloud died peacefully on December 10th, 1909. He was 88 years old, and his body is buried on top of a bluff on the Pine Ridge Reservation. He died being the only Indian to ever claim victory over the United States on their own soil.
That's badass.
Or their,
Fucking crazy.
Their own soil, quote unquote.
Yeah, they made it their soil.
Yeah.
So
It was a home game for them.
Yeah.
that was very touching, but I couldn't help but think of Dark Souls and how he's a sun, bro. Just fucking praise the sun, man. Praise the sun.
Yeah.
I haven't played Dark Souls.
Fuck you.
It'll piss you off.
Yeah, no,
It'll piss
you know
you
how
off.
I like Max says, I don't play games to be pissed off.
I'm inspired. I want to quit my job, sell all my shit, live in an RV. I'm gonna
Play Dark Souls.
play Dark Souls, just like Red Cloud would have wanted.
That's how.
So, to wrap things up a little bit, let's talk about what happened to Colonel Carrington.
Oh, this is like the end of Fast Time at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. You get to see all what happened to everybody. So Carrington, he would spend the rest of his life defending his actions at Fort Phil Kearny, because after the Fetterman fight, people blamed him for that massacre.
It's like I don't know how I could have more clearly said don't go over that ridge.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they were like, did anyone else hear you tell Fetterman not to go over that ridge?
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
that died.
They all died.
Well, actually, I mean, yeah, everyone was dead, but no one else who was alive actually heard him tell Fetterman. They did hear him tell Grumman that, though. So,
He's like,
I don't know, like,
I'm sure he said.
I'm
it.
sure he said it.
I'm
like,
pretty
"Did
sure it
you
was
read my
Grumman that
book?"
made the decision to go over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm positive of that.
well, he wrote that book, Don't Go Over That Ridge. The Carrington story.
He wrote that song, Don't Go Over That Ridge.
Margaret Carrington even wrote a book about it, recounting the events that took place defending her husband's actions. However,
That
she...
book was called I Heard Him Say, Don't Go Over That Ridge.
yeah, right. She...
A wife's perspective.
She died, though, of tuberculosis in
Aw,
1870. Almost like right after they
The
left.
consumption.
Yeah.
It was the tuberculosis of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah, tuberculosis.
When Frances Grumman buried her husband, because she took him back home, like where George was from, when she took him back there, then she found out that, oh, George Grumman had a whole other family, a whole other wife with like a kid and stuff.
It's like Dennis from Always Sunny.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So she started corresponding with like the only person she knew now, which was Carrington, and a romance kind of bloomed between the two.
Nice.
And they were married in 1871. Yeah, so they lived a very happy life after that. They went to a dedication of a memorial where Fort Phil Kearny used to be. It's still there to this day. But on October 12th, 1912, Henry B.B. Carrington died at the age of 88, just like Red Cloud.
And in that moment, his tiny nipples became soft to the touch.
I forgot his name was BB.
Yeah.
Until you, yeah.
Yep.
We talked about his tiny BB-shaped nipples.
Yeah,
Right.
That he had as a child.
Yeah.
So that story is I haven't heard a more disappointing ending to a saga since Rise of the Skywalker.
Ooh, hot take.
Well, I mean, you knew what was going to happen.
No, I know. I just wanted to shit on Rise of the Skywalker.
Yeah, I know.
We're shifting it to nerd talk.
That's me shifting gears. That sound.
It's your pop culture podcast and the only one on the listenings.
Yeah, I have great news. We're gonna switch History Boys. We're now gonna be only talking movie reviews here on out.
No, we're not going to be a review show.
We're going to be talking movies, games, and all the TV shows you love.
We're gonna review history.
Yeah.
And this, I give Red Cloud 5 stars.
Yeah. I do want to say.
Give him 8 scalps out of 10.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice. I give him a salsa thermometer with the thing all the way at the top. It's real hot, muy caliente.
I do want to say that like Red Cloud's war, and really any other war that the natives have had with the United States is not over. It's still going. It's just being fought on different battlegrounds, like inside state houses and things like that. But it's still going. Like they're still fighting for what little they have left.
Yeah.
Like those
You know.
pipelines.
Yeah, the pipelines.
That's a great example, and it leaked. I don't know if you guys heard about
Yeah.
that, but
No.
it like instantly leaked.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Yeah,
Blake helped fight that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's that picture of the Native American with the Captain America shield
Yeah.
from the pipeline. That's
Yep.
Blake's.
Yeah, Blake's standing right next.
Yeah.
right next to him. Yeah. New York Times.
Well, you
So-
know, that's
I'm sorry it's a downer
Yeah.
this time, but
maybe, you know.
Red Cloud was awesome.
I
Red
wanna
Cloud
s-
was super dope.
He
Yeah.
did more than most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
More than me for sure.
Yeah.
It's I think it's the American dream to fight super hard to just realize that the system is out to get you and is way too big to get away from, and then you just acquiesce to it and it swallows you whole.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm depressed. Fuck you
Sorry.
guys. Why did we have to do this story?
But the good news is
'cause
we
it's
got
dope.
more stories coming.
Oh, we got more
New
So many stories.
crazier stories,
We're
zanier
recording-
stories.
Now that
all the time now.
Jerry's
yeah.
working on a story right now. It's got a guy with a propeller on his head.
Oh heck yeah.
Jerry,
it
you
doesn't.
gotta work
Yeah.
on a story with a guy with a propeller on his
We've,
head. I promised them.
Yeah, post
We,
haste.
we had to take quite a hiatus from recording. We recorded the last 2 Red Clouds quite a while ago.
Yeah, yep. But
Uh,
we didn't want to release the 2 and not finish the story before you could
Yeah.
hear.
That would have been a shit
Zach's been
cliffhanger.
touring. I got married.
Yeah.
I was legally married before that, but we had the ceremony.
He went to cool historical places.
I did.
Like Europe.
Yeah, Budapest
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
It was
like
great.
fun.
That's where Boot is from, is
Yeah.
what I learned.
Yes.
And that's where booing people came from.
And the pest
I said Boo Earns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
was filmed there.
There's
Chris
a
got to
Simpsons
see-
reference for this episode.
Oh yeah, Jerry's wearing an Impale T-shirt. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. With the so I had the Impaler.
Yeah.
When I was in Budapest, I was at Castle Buda, and our tour guide told me that below my feet in the dungeons was where Vlad the Impaler was imprisoned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool.
He's still down there to this day in bat form.
Yeah, well, he's a vampire. He's immortal.
Yeah.
You guys should go back and listen to that episode if you forgot that
Yeah.
we did that.
You got to see
This is our second
statues of
episode.
Matthias Corvinus
Yeah,
and John Hunyadi.
I did see those.
It's awesome.
I can post them on our Instagram. I probably should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can. Yeah, we should put
I was
those
talking
up.
about doing that, and I did not.
Yeah.
Well, guys, should we wrap this one up?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm gonna put pictures of all the major players on like on Facebook. By the way,
Yeah. So,
So-
check out our socials if you want to
Yeah.
put some faces to names and
yeah,
you know get a little bit of
I'll put-
extra perspectives.
I'll put some maps up there. I'll put pictures of the major players and stuff like that on there. So, yeah, follow us on the soch.
Yeah, we're all on all the socials.
Yep,
It'd be super dope if you guys leave some reviews and stuff.
yep. We have 2 very, very nice reviews.
We don't know who they're from,
Feel
except
free
for
to-
one.
I think
So,
one's
the
from
other
Sydney.
one.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Feel free to jump in there and add to the collection.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
helps us out.
once again, we are the History Boys. I'm Tyler.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jerry.
I'm Zach.
Until next time.
Until next time.
All right, let's go get fucked up.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun. We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't, whatever.